Okay, so welcome back to my new video. This video, I'm going to be talking about Traefik. Okay, you can call it Traefik or Traefik, however you pronounce it. It's a leading modern HTTP reverse proxy and a load balancer that makes deploying microservices very easy. So Traefik is an edge router, meaning that it is the door to your application, and it is the intercepts and then routes every incoming traffic request, and then it knows all the logic and every rule that determines which services handle which request based on the path, the host, headers, and so on. This application is written in Golang, and microservices are dynamic, hence its configuration should also be dynamic. Traefik supports SSL termination like Acme or Let's Encrypt. Edge router, as I said before, is the front door to your application. It intercepts the incoming requests and routes the request appropriately. And it also defines all the logic to determine which service receives the request based on the path, the host, headers, and so on. It has integration with AWS, Kubernetes, Docker, Mesos, and so on. It also automatically discovers service configurations. So there are about 5 terminologies that you need to keep in mind: the providers, the entry points, the routers, the service, and then the middlewares. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, the providers, they discover the services that live on your infrastructure. The entry point, they listen for incoming traffic. And then the routers, they analyze the request and then route them appropriately. The services, they forward the request to the services, that is the load balancing. And then the middleware for authentications and others. So as you can see in the diagram, you see we have like 3 layers. The request that is coming from the internet hits the traffic, which is the middle layer, and then traffic will then route the request to your infrastructure. So your infrastructure has services in there that Traefik is able to determine which service they should route the request to. And anytime you add a new request, Traefik is able to automatically discover those services and then route them appropriately. So with Traefik, you can see that it has some use cases like load balancing, API gateway, Kubernetes Ingress. So you can deploy Traefik as your Kubernetes Ingress controller. And then it also has some service certificate management. As I said before, Let's Encrypt. And Acme is just automatic certificate management environment. So you can check them out. If you visit traefik.io, you can find a lot of information. And Traefik has some features, cool features like routing and load balancing, security, dynamic configuration, and observability, where you can, where you have these inbuilt dashboards to view certain metrics using Jaeger, Zipkin, Open Tracing, Grafana, Prometheus, and the rest. So basically that is Traefik. So let's jump to look at some few YAML files before we move on to the demo. Okay, so I've opened one file, which is a deployment. As you can see, the kind is what? Deployment. And it has some labels and then the namespace. The name is called Hello App V1 or version 1, you can call it. And then we have a container called Hello App V1. And then this is the image, Hello App 1.0. So this is the first deployment. Then if I open the second deployment, you can see that it's the same, the kind is for deployment. And then we have just one replica set as just like the V1. So the image is what? Hello App 2.0 or 2.0. So it's the same application, but different versions. Okay, so we are going to deploy these two applications. And then we have a service for V1 and then a service for V2, okay? And then the target port is 8080 and then the service port is 80, okay? And all is happening in this namespace. So I'll be creating this namespace. And then we have the Traefik Ingress controller. As you can see, the kind is what? Ingress with some annotations. And then if you look at the rules, we are hitting this host, okay? This host is a fully qualified domain name of our network host. So I'm going to show you how we'll create this in using GoDaddy. So our host is going to be app.aerogram.io, and then it's going to forward the request to service Hello App V1 on this port 80. And then we have a path API/V1. So what this means is that we'll have something like this, API/V1, okay? Once we hit this endpoint, it's going to forward a request to this Hello App V1 service, okay? So that's what it means. And then I have another domain here called demo.aerogram.io, which is also going to hit this path when we visit API/V2, it's going to forward a request to this service, okay, on this port. This is the service port 80, okay? So I think it's simple as that. So I can collapse this and collapse this or leave it open. All right, so I think that is all for this. So let's just move on to a demo. Okay, so I'm in my terminal and then I have these two Kubernetes nodes that are running, and I'm going to create a namespace. So I'm going to say kubectl create namespace, and then I'm going to call it Traefik-v2. Okay, so the namespace is created. So I'm going to switch to this namespace. So I'm going to say hyphen name space. I'm going to say Traefik-v2. So I've changed the context. Okay. So if you see, it's the Traefik-v2 is selected. So I'm going to deploy V1, V2 service dashboard, and then Traefik Ingress. So let's start by saying apply dashboard. I'm going to explain that later on. I'm going to run that. It's created. deploy v1 -f, deploy -v2, and then -f service.yaml. Okay, it's all created. So I'm going to also create the Ingress, which is Traefik Ingress. So that is also created. So let's go back to the dashboard. So yeah, so this is the Ingress route. The kind is what? Ingress route. And then the entry point is web. And then whenever we hit this endpoint, traffic.aerogram.io, it's and the path is what? /dashboard, or is prefixed with /API. We direct or forward the request to Traefik service. So this is an internal service. Okay, so this is just for the Traefik UI. Okay, that monitors the metrics coming from the internet or the requests that are coming into our endpoints. Okay, so basically that is it. So this is just a matching rule. Once we hit this, it forwards it to Traefik service, and it's just an internal service. Okay, so there is another way of getting the dashboard, but I prefer to go with this one for now. So yeah, so basically that is it. So we've created everything. Now let's check kubectl get all. So as you can see, we have the two ports that are running for the two deployments, the Hello App v1 and then v2. Okay. I think it's left with one thing that I need to deploy. So I think I need to deploy this kubectl apply -f. Okay, so I think I've created it. Let me see. Okay, get all. Okay, let me also yeah, so one thing that I forgot is to install the Traefik. We haven't installed the Traefik, but we were able to apply this information to our Kubernetes. So I'm going to install the Traefik using hem. So I'm going to say hem repo add Traefik. Okay, so if I run this, so you see the Traefik has been added. Let me see hem list. And then I'm going to say hem repo update. Okay, so it's updated. So I'm going to say hem install. So I can even search for it first. Repo search repo Traefik. If I search for Traefik, you see this is the hem chart and then the repository. Okay, so I'm going to say hem install Traefik. Traefik is the name of the chart, and this is the repository and then the name of the chart. Okay, so I'm going to run this. It's taking a bit of time to install. Okay, so as you can see, it's done, it's deployed. The status is for deployed. Revision is 1. It's in the Traefik v2 namespace. Let me see, ham list. You see, so it's been installed in this namespace. This is the name, time it was deployed, the chat version, and then the app version. We could have also shown the show values of Traefik /Traefik. So these are the values. We could have changed some values here if we wanted to, but I think I'm okay with the default values. I could have changed, let's say, metrics and maybe TLS, and then maybe values here, but I think I'm okay with the default values. So we're good. I could have also enabled tracing, also maybe for Prometheus, Datadog. We could have done some changes, but I think I'm okay with the default for now. So I think that is it. That is just the 3 commands that we need to run to install Traefik. I'm going to say get all. So now, as you can see, we have the 2 ports that are running. And then after installing Traefik, we created another port. So we have 3 ports. And then you can see the service for Traefik has a load balancer type. And then we have this external IP address, which we are going to use on this port 80. So I'm going to scale the application. Okay, so scale deployment v2 to 5. Then scale hello app v1 to also 5. So we are scaling this v1 to 5 and then v2 to 5. So if we check get all, you can see we have 5 replica sets for v1 and then 5 replica sets for v2. Okay, so as you can see, 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5. Okay, so this is our load balancer IP address. So when any external traffic comes into our application, it's going to hit the load balancer, and then Traefik will then distribute the request to the appropriate service. And as you know, we have 2 services or 2 microservices, v1 and v2. So now we need a DNS name. We need to point this IP address to a DNS name. Okay, so I'm going to start with sudo vi etc. So I'm going to put in my password. I'm going to edit this IP address. And then you remember our Traefik dashboard is traefik.aerogram.io. That is what we called it. So I'm just going to point this IP address to this name, okay, so that we can browse our dashboard through this URL. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Now let's go to our Firefox. Okay, so this is my GoDaddy dashboard. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to add an A record. So I'm going to say A, choose A, and then put in app.aerogram.io. Then I'm going to paste the IP address. What was the IP address? Okay, so I'm going to paste in the IP address and then add records. Yes, I'm going to save. And I'm going to add another record, a record, demo.aerogram.io. Paste in the IP address, add record. Yes, save. And then the last one, a record, Traefik.aerogram.io. Put in the IP address and then add records. Yes, save. Okay, so we've added these three IP addresses. So this is it, app, demo, and Traefik. Okay. Once we add that, let's go back to our Chrome. So if I type app.aerogram.io/API/v1, you see, now we are able to point to our deployment or our service through this domain name. Okay, so Traefik is able to route to this application, hello app v1, and this is the name of, or the pod address. Okay, so this is version 1 of our application. Now, if I go to demo.aerogram.io/API/v2, let me refresh this. You see, the last digits will keep changing. So if I keep refreshing, see, it keeps changing, meaning that anytime a request comes in, Kubernetes is able to point to different ports, because you remember we have 5 replica sets for each of the applications. Okay, so if I keep refreshing, keep changing. Okay, so now also we want to visit Traefik and then .io /dashboard/pound/. So you need to make sure that you add the pound to it, else it's not going to work, I think so. You see, so I need to add a pound to it, /pound. Okay, so once you do that, you're going to log in. We need a middleware to use our password, username and password to log in, but we haven't done that. So there's no way, there's no middleware which we can use for authentication. So anybody with this link can access our dashboard, which shouldn't be the case. People need to be authenticated. Maybe in a future video, I'm going to do a demo on how you can use the middleware to log in into your dashboard. Okay, so if I click on services, you can see that we have 5 replicas for each of the load balancers, and these are their IP addresses and then the port on which they are running. So you can see the host is what, app.aerogram.io, and then there's a prefix /API/v1. Okay, so basically that is it. If we come back, you see the app v2 also has 5 replica sets. So if I reduce it, let's say I reduce v2 to just 3 replica sets. So I'm going to say, okay, scale to 3. That's for v2. So it's been scaled. So now let's move back to our dashboard. So if I refresh, you see it has reduced to 3 replica sets. Okay. Meanwhile, we have V1 to be what, 5 replica sets, and then the type is what, a load balancer. Okay. So the V1 still has 5 replica sets, and then you can see the route. Okay, so this is the route V1. So this is what Traefik Ingress will forward the request to the service, the corresponding service. Okay. So we turn off certain things in our values file, like Prometheus metrics. We turn them off. The tracing is also off. All this could have been done in the values file when we were installing the Traefik using the hem charts. Okay. Yeah, so basically, if we had some TLS enabled, you see the green check mark beside the rules. Okay, so currently we don't have any TLS enabled, so we cannot see the check mark. Yeah, so basically that is it. You can also change to a dark theme if you want. Yeah, so basically that is it for Traefik. In a future video, I'm going to work on how we can install TLS or SSL certificate for our endpoint. That is this endpoint. You see, it's not secured. So your connection to this side is not secured. Okay, so I'll show you in that video how you can secure this endpoint so that you have that padlock. Let me see. Yeah, so that you have that little padlock beside the endpoint. You see, connection is secured. Okay, so in our case, it's not secured because we don't have any certificate authority, okay, enabled. Yeah, so if you have any question, let me know. So this is the way you can create your host and then route them to the appropriate services. Okay, so if you have any question, please don't hesitate to leave your comment in the comment section below. Like and share, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.